girlfriend I was dating back in the summer of 2014. This all took place in South Carolina, and my girlfriend and I wanted to take a camping trip. We initially tried to go to a place 45 miles from our hometown, but they were going to charge us double what we thought we were going to pay for. We decided to head back, and it just occurred to me there's a spot in very close to where we live. Now, I will say it's more boondocking and off-grid. We didn't have to pay for anything. Just parked the car and we got out. This place is quite gorgeous. There's a historic bridge and trail, also some of the oldest railroad tracks in the South. We got there before sunset, so we had plenty of time to pitch the tent and set everything up. There were a few cars when we arrived, but they were most likely hikers and would be gone by nightfall. The only thing that made us uncomfortable was a busted up and rusted old white van with no license plate. We both pointed that out thinking it was weird, but we shrugged it off and started walking to a good place to set camp up. After several hours around 3 a.m., following some quality time spent with her and taking in all the nature and then going to sleep, we started to hear this obscure singing and walking around our tent. Anytime you hear commotion that early in the morning, nothing good can happen out of it. I peered my head out the tent to see what was going on. I didn't see anything or anyone, but nonetheless, I didn't want to stay in that area when we both were freaked out. Just because I couldn't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I barely did a decent walk around our tent. As we were quietly gathering our belongings, we swore we heard the singing get louder. I recall words in this song he was singing had, "Now won't you come out?" followed by this raspy laughing. Once we finally packed the tent, that was when crunching on the leaves and his humming is what we heard, so we knew this guy was close by. We booked it. I grabbed her hand and threw the tent and folding chairs on my back. We made sure to run the opposite way from where all his noise was coming from. Luckily, we set camp up fairly close to the parking lot, because I could see lights through the trees. As we ran and scurried away from whoever was chasing us, we noticed the lights from the parking lot wasn't just the street lights, but also, to our horror, it was that old rusty white van we saw at the beginning. We hurried uphill just hoping this guy was alone. His van was right in front of mine. If he had an accomplice, that would be another person to deal with. As we reached the lot, we got into the bright streetlights. I noticed my girlfriend's hand make a slight twitch and her pace slowed down. From that I could tell she was turning her head to take a look at our attacker. I heard her gasp loudly, "Come on, don't look, we're almost there." She focused back and we continued running in unison. This guy was getting closer as I can hear the noise of the gravel intensify. I heard his wheezing and him barking, "Don't y'all think you'll get away?" As we just made it past the van, we split and I handed her the keys so she could unlock and start the car. And I can throw all the gear in the trunk and we can make it out of this place. As I frantically laid the camping gear in the backseat and head to the driver's side, that was when my body faced forward for the first time in a while. Every noise this guy was making was close and amplified now. With the car running, I kept my head down to put it in reverse, but curiosity got the better of me. In the brightness of my headlights, this man was a behemoth with a stern, wrinkled face with red, patchy hair, a goatee that had dirt and crud smeared over it. His eyes were fixated on us like a scope magnifying on two 10-point bucks. He was wanting to kill. "Get back here," he barked, waving a baseball bat back and forth. I shook my head and with that I swerved out, and we were on the way out with our hearts racing. In the rear view mirror, we saw the man slam the bat in frustration. A narrow escape. We drove to Waffle House and spent the rest of the early morning until the sunrise. Before we continue, if you enjoyed my narration, smash that like button and leave a comment down below. That means a lot to me. Thank you. And let's get back to our stories. So, this story happened about 11 years ago. I was a senior in high school at the time, but it is the single most mind-boggling thing that I have ever experienced. It's also important to note that it happened in mid-December. I am from Iowa, and the winters here get cold at night. Like if you get stuck outside, you will die kind of cold. And plus the snowfall makes everything dead silent. You can hear anything and everything inside the house, and even immediately outside of it. Well, me and my best friend were hanging out in my family's walkout basement, just having a boring winter night playing video games. We were also the only ones home. The reason it was just us is because my mother went from work straight to a bar to grab a few drinks with co-workers, so me and my friend thought it would be a good idea to break into the family wine and live a little. As we were sitting there opening up the first bottle, I hear the door to the garage open and slam shut. I immediately go, "Oh shit," and start looking for places to hide the bottle. My friend then says, "I thought you said your mom was supposed to be out all night." She was, I replied. I then heard a few heavy stomps and hear my mother yell out, "Meows and Boo, anyone home?" I yell back up the stairs. Yup, just hanging out in the basement. I hear a few more steps move from the garage door towards the stairs, and she yells out again, "Can you come help me with something? I need you up here." I reply back while frantically trying to find a good place to hide the wine bottle. "Yup, give me just a minute." Then there was silence for about 20 seconds. "Anyone down there with you?" She yelled back in a more concerned, serious tone, in a voice that was slightly off of my mother's. This was the first thing that told me something wasn't right. Our family never cared if anyone was over, as our house was a very open house to all family and friends. And the voice, it was just wrong, like it sounded like my mother's, but it was missing something that I couldn't out my finger on. Weirded out, I reply back, "Just Colton." After I yelled that back to her, I found a good place to hide the bottle and began walking up the steps to the next level. Now, as I was walking up the steps, I couldn't help but feel the overbearing silence of the house and the slight electric twinge that something isn't right. When I got to the top of the steps, I look over to where the door to garage is, and also the kitchen right next to it, and it's black, pitch black, all if the lights were off, and there was no moonlight shining through any windows. I walked over to the kitchen yelling out, "Mom, where are you?" There was no reply, just silence and darkness. I feel the electric twinge turn into full needles, and my adrenaline kicking in full force. I have to get out of here as fast as possible. My mother was not home. I run back down the stairs, grabbing my coat along the way. "What's wrong?" Colton says. "My mom's not home." I reply as fast as I can, looking for my truck keys. "What do you mean? You were just talking with her." I could see the confusion in his face. "There's no one home. We need to leave now." I took a few steps towards the back door that opens up to the yard, and then I see my dog shaking on the couch and my cat growling behind it. I couldn't leave them. I just knew that if we left, something would happen. "Are we leaving?" Colton said, still confused as all hell. "No, I can't leave them here alone. Something is really off. I'm going to call my mom and figure this out." I pull out my phone and call my mom. She picks up immediately. "Meows and Boo, what's going on?" She answers, "Mom, were you just home? I heard you yelling for me from the second level, and when I went up you weren't there." I said frantically, hoping that she was playing a joke. "No, I'm just leaving the bar. I wasn't feeling very well." "Are you okay?" "What do you mean you hurt me?" I fill her in on the whole story and she rushes home. Colton and I stayed in the basement with the pets until she got home, but before she did you could hear something upstairs. Not walking or sitting on things, but a pressure in the air, like a black hole was slowly moving from one room to the next, and the word that I would instinctively describe it as is hungry. When she got home you could feel the thing leave just as quick as it came, like an overbearing predatory presence had just flown away. We still have never figured out what the hell was going on, and this is just one story of many unexplainable things that have happened to us, but this is the easiest to write down, and one that I was happy to have a witness. My mother has passed away now, and I have moved away to Arizona, but whenever I go back to Iowa and I see Colton, he still gets creeped out by what had happened. I will never truly know what happened, but I know that whatever it was that had my mother's voice, it was evil, and it was hungry. This happened about 7 years ago. I was 13 at the time. This takes place in the summer. I was sitting on the couch with my sister when we heard someone screaming, "Help me, help me, please." My sister and I both jumped off the couch and looked outside. It was pitch black outside, so we couldn't really see anything. Then we heard, "I know you guys are home. I see you." We ducked down so fast. I was scared shitless. My sister mouthed to me, "Doesn't that sound like Lauren?" That's not her real name, but I'm just gonna call her Lauren. Lauren's my mom's best friend who lives with us. I nodded and I was like, "Oh, maybe she needs help bringing things inside." So my sister and I go outside and we don't see her car on the driveway. We're confused at this point and we head back inside and lock and shut all the windows and doors. About 5 minutes later we hear the screaming again. "Help me, I'm begging you please." At this point my sister and I are freaked out. We call my mom's friend Lauren to see if she needs help. She answered the phone, but she said she was at a friend's house. I asked my sister if we should call the police. She said no. I don't know why she did. My mom came home about 20 minutes later, and we told my mom everything that happened. She said that it was probably just some kids trying to scare us. The next day though, My sister and I were talking with our neighbor Jess, and she said that she heard someone knocking on her window, and then shortly after, she heard the screaming coming from around my house. We still have no idea who it was that needed help. The voice didn't sound like they were running from someone. It just sounded like they were trying to lure someone in. If you have a cat inside your house and it's starting to be 3:09 a.m., prepare to go to bed. Last night I didn't, as I was up late watching the latest John Wick movie on my laptop. I went to the kitchen since I was feeling hungry, ready to gorge on some food like a big rat at 3 a.m., massacring Cheetos and cookies. So I was in the kitchen, and in that kitchen there was a smaller room filled with food. I think it's called the pantry. As I was eating inside there, my cat hears me and comes walking around meowing, trying to get my attention. As I walked outside the pantry, I was in shock, disbelief. Brain crumbled like a crumbled cookie that your grandma half-baked. The cat, he wasn't on all fours. The cat was standing perfectly straight like a human, strutting around the house mumbling himself something. He walked as if he was catwalking on a fashion stage or whatever it's called. I didn't hear what he was mumbling, but it was half cat language and also a few human words. And I heard the word power in cats. My cat slowly turned his head towards me and immediately started acting like a cat on all fours and falling over for a belly rub after he realized I saw his human nature. I went back to sleep. Maybe I was hallucinating. I woke up the next day to a loud, deep voice saying, "Al, it's too late. He saw me. He leaves me no choice than heh." If you're reading this, I'm outside now on the streets. I ran out of the house. So please don't look at your cat after 3:09 a.m., or else you will be traumatized and your cat will have no choice to do what he or she will do to you. I have the secret now, or at least partly of the secret world of cats.